All right, hi guys. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I use these Clover Pom Makers to make the poms for my beanies. So in the last video I showed you guys how to knit with two colors for the Fair Isle. So now I'm going to show you guys how I will make my poms to top and finish this hat. So working with cilantro as my color for the pom here. And so I'm just going to walk you guys through the steps here. So I'll start with one side. You're working this pom one half at a time. And so the way that I like to start wrapping my yarn is I'll bring it around once, and then I like to kind of just hold that tail in place. I'll wrap my starting yarn around and kind of crisscross it over to hold that in place. And then from here, I'll just wrap a couple of times. And I'm not pulling very tight, like these can very easily slide down. And then I'll just kind of let that yarn tail be. Sometimes I'll hold down on it, just to make sure that it's out of the way. So from here, I'm just going to start wrapping. It's not very tight as far as my tension goes. I want to kind of scoot down as I'm working. And for me, I think it makes a really big difference if you try and stay in line. And you don't overlap until you get to, your second round and third round and so on. So I have a little bit of space there, but I'll just kind of use my thumbs and scrunch that yarn down. As I get closer to the end, I'm going to kind of scrunch the bottom portion a little bit more until I get to the last where I've got maybe one more that can fit. And I'll wrap that around, and then I'll like to kind of spread out each piece and make sure that it's nice and even. So from there, I'm going to start my second wrap. So I've done one, and then I'm going to start my second. So I'm going to work my way down, and what I like to do is keep a pretty loose tension. You want some tension so that it's not coming up off of the tool, but I'm not pulling too tight. So I'm gonna just start wrapping, and you'll kind of get into a little bit of a rhythm with this. And if you watch kind of towards the bottom here, you'll see how these are each just starting to line up. There may be a little bit of space here towards the top, but that's okay. I'm gonna continue all the way around. I get to the very end. So that's two. I'm going to go for my third round. Same thing. I'm just making sure that these are wrapping nice and smoothly. So I'm not like crisscrossing back over or, like double wrapping in one spot like that. I want it to be nice and even, and that's what's going to make your poms look more symmetrical. So I'm going to go all the way. So that's 3 wraps. I'm going to do a fourth. And then typically for my poms, I will wrap the yarn, go back and forth and wrap the yarn 5 to 6 times. I find that makes it nice and full and nice and even. So that's 4. And then I'm going to go one more time all the way back for 5. And then if you're noticing, any spots where maybe it's a little bit thinner, you can kind of wrap, just an extra bit there. Like right here, I might wrap 2, just kind of fill in that gap a little bit. All the way around. So that was 5 wraps. So once I get to that point, I'll just kind of look at and make sure that this is nice and even. I may even like go back over even just like one area or something that I might need to fill in. And then once I'm satisfied with that, I'm just going to close it and bring my yarn, wrap it through here, and then snip. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Wrap, hold it down, crossing over, I'll start wrapping. Try to maybe go a little faster on this side, just so you guys can see kind of real time here. Scrunch those stitches down. Again, you want to try to keep it all in a nice line as you're wrapping. Try to make each wrap of the yarn equal in tension. Use my thumb here. And then once I get to the very end, kind of spreading those out, making it nice and even. So here we're going for 2. All the way around. And most of the time I'll just kind of gather a bunch of yarn in a pile before I start this, or I'll just sort of let my skein kind of flop around on the floor as I'm working. So here's 3. Keep going. That's 3. Let that fall. And here's 4. All the way around. I found also that when I'm finishing and I'm cutting this, like I'll show you guys, it's really important to have good sharp scissors. So I'll show you the ones I use. And 5. All the way back to the start. And then I'll look for any areas where I think it maybe needs one more little wrap, and then close. And now I'm ready to go through and cut here. So the scissors I use are these Fiskars. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. There we go. And then, like I said, this is a Clover Pom Maker. I also have a Jumbo Pom Maker and some mini ones. But now I'm going to just start cutting through, and I want to make sure that I'm right in the middle. And there's a groove here as you're cutting, so you can kind of, it helps kind of guide you and keep you in the right spot. So I'm just going to go all the way down. It is also a lot better if you trim your palms after you make them. So people always ask me, like, how do your palms look so perfect? Well, I'm a perfectionist anyways, but when I finish making a palm with the maker, I then take a good amount of time of like fluffing it and trimming it and making sure that it's nice and round. So I'm just going to go all the way down. And then once I get to this point, I like to just kind of like fluff up the yarn a little bit here. Whoops, coming open. Don't want it to come open. And then from here, I like to pull out these 2 strands that I wrapped around. That was just to keep it in place. And now I'm ready to wrap my yarn around. So I like to cut, you know, a decent sized piece, slip it through that groove there and up to the top. I'm just gonna do a couple of knots here. So my first one, and I'm gonna pull really tight. Then what I like to do is flip and do a second knot. Here's my second, really tight. Flip one more time and one more knot. So I've tied 3 knots there. It's pretty tight. I'm gonna do a double knot on that last one. And then I'm just gonna open it up. Pop these open. And pull it apart. And then from here, I'll give it a little fluff. If you see any longer pieces kind of sticking out like this, you can just trim that. Now, if I like give it a little tug and it comes right out, I'll just take that piece out. Sometimes like from the end of your yarn tail, it's kind of wrapped underneath there. If you do a good job making it nice and tight, that piece will stay in, and then all you really have to do is trim it. So from this point, I used to just do these over the trash can, but then I thought, you know, maybe I need something more portable. So I just start using like a little Tupperware, and you can see my little trimmings in here from my other poms. Don't ask me why, but I actually, I use these KitchenAid scissors. They're just really sharp and they just cut really well. They're from my kitchen, my knife set, but I actually really like these for trimming poms. These are the best scissors, and I have like a bunch of different scissors at my house, but I just really like the way these ones will trim. And so I'm just gonna go around, and initially I'll just trim away anything that is really obviously too long. And then I'm just gonna start kind of shaping this up. Now you can kind of see here this little bit of a seam from where the two halves join. So this one, I didn't cut it quite as even. And so what I can do is I'm just gonna go down that seam and make it nice and even. And this might be like TMI, like I know how to cut yarn, but this is just a little sneak peek into me and my style, how I do this. There's probably lots of different ways that you could go about this, and mine are certainly not the most perfect, but this is the technique that I've found to be the best. And so I really will take some time working with the pom from all angles. So I'll work from the bottom facing me, I'll flip it over, I'll work from the top facing me, and then I'll just keep going around. I like to try to trim up the side that's gonna sit flush with the beanie. I like to trim a little bit shorter so that it's nice and round. So I'll work my way around, and then I'll attach my beanie to my hat. And once I've done that, I'll take a little bit of time to go back over it again and make sure that everything looks nice and even, there's no uneven spots. And then the finished product, I'll show you this one that I actually just finished. So once I attach it, I kind of go back over and make sure that everything is nice and even and it looks how I want. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys in figuring out. I think a lot of people were asking me, like, how many times do you wrap your yarn? That seemed to be the common question. So just a summary here for mine, I'll wrap 5 to 6 times. So from one side to the other is 1, 5 to 6 times per side. And I find that makes a nice full pom. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and have a great day.